do the list. I thought about doing the list. He says, my mind can't even fathom it. And he's like, well, what would happen? And he's like, I literally can't even picture it. He's like, my mind doesn't work like that. And it's like not entirely true, because like it's impossible for the human mind to like literally delete that. But you have to like convince yourself. Like it's just not even like functionally possible. Okay. But I want to talk about when to quit, when to pivot, and when to double down. I just talked about when to quit. Never. Like just don't ever quit. Delete it from your vocabulary if you're building a business. When to pivot. This is the most important one. You pivot when more money is attainable without breaking your compounding. Let me explain compounding real quick. If I learn how to become a great copywriter, a copywriter is somebody who gets people to buy things through writing words. So like people who write commercials are copywriters. I don't want to just go all of a sudden become a gym bro, okay, because somebody said there might be money over there. I might be in email copywriting. I might be in commercial copywriting. I might be in websites. I might go to paid ads. I might go to organic content. If I'm a gym bro, I don't want to go to copywriting, okay? I want to stay around fitness and nutrition and recovery and whatever it is, discipline. Like I need to stay where my compounding keeps going. So you can pivot, follow the money. This is what I did. I pivoted 4 times before I made my first 40 grand. And I didn't ever stop my compounding. It was always around content and writing. Okay? I pivoted from ghostwriting to email to growth operating to content. Okay? Don't ever pivot outside of your compounding. Like literally ever. Like not even until you're like 50 billion years old. Okay? When to double down, when to press the gas, when to work 70, 80 hours a week. I'm going to say something controversial. You need to do that until you get out of your survival mode. Okay, for me it was 5 grand. I had 5 grand. If I can make 5 grand a month, my bills were covered. It was really low. Okay, I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Cost of living is low. It would cover me, my daughter, my wife. It would be tight. But I had to sprint that bitch. Okay, I had to go so hard to get there. And then you take a short rest, 2 to 3 months, and you think about where your next goal is, and then you double down again. You press the gas, and you just keep doing this over and over again. It's feast and famine, feast and famine, feast and famine, okay? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, work, rest. You can't quite do it all in one time, but on the rise, you can't let off the gas. On the rise, you cannot let off the gas. There's a guy named Michael Ovitz, who's one of the greatest directors of all time, and he said in an interview recently, like, hey, if you could do it again, would you have worked less? And he said, yes, I would have worked 20 to 30% less, except when I was on the rise. And, I made a post about this. I didn't work out for about 16 to 18 months because every single hour mattered for me to learn my skill, build my business. And people were like, oh, you're gonna die, all these different things. Like, that is fine. My goal was finances at that time. And now I'm able to go back and care for my body. And now I'm actually able to afford, I've tripled my grocery budget. Okay, I made 40 grand a month, and the only thing that's changed is I bought a pair of golf clubs, or a set of golf clubs, and I have tripled my grocery budget. Literally the only 2 things that have changed. I still drive a 2005 Lexus, okay? Look at that window, okay? Look at these ceilings. Okay? You see where I'm coming from? You can do that later. Yeah. When to quit? Never. When to pivot? As long as you don't break your compounding. When to double down? Whenever you're on the rise. I would say until you hit 10K, take a break, and then shoot forward to 40K. All right. I think we are in a time that we're going to look back on and be like, wow, we were so stupid. Think about like whenever like everyone was like, oh yeah, cigarettes are completely fine. And now we're like, wow, that was a wild time to be alive. That we just let that happen. Same thing with slavery. Like, that's insane that was just like okay for a while. There's like periods of history where you look back and you're like, that is crazy that was just normalized. What I'm about to say is nowhere near as serious as cigarettes or slavery. Please don't try to throw that back on me. But like 10, 15 years from now, we're going to look back at views and we're going to be like, I can't believe we used to like pay people off of views, or I can't believe views were an important metric. Views are like the worst metric of all time. They're like the worst metric. They're so bad. Let me just, would you rather have, let's say you're building a business, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Would you rather have a conversation with 100,000 12-year-olds from a third world country, or would you rather have a conversation with 50 Fortune 500 CEOs? Like, that is why views don't matter. Like, your view quality, which there isn't a metric to measure view quality, there needs to be, and hopefully there will be one day, is the most important thing about your content. It is the most important thing. If you are chasing just views in general, I don't know how to say this without just saying, like, it's just not a good thing. Quit chasing views in general. You have to balance it with the view quality. Okay? And the way you can do this is really simple. You just compress the hook into a more valuable, niched topic. Okay? And one thing I will just say is, like, if you're like in the comedy thing, or like, reaction videos or whatever, you're like probably genuinely only attracting 12-year-olds. And like, you need to just rethink about like where you stand as a creator just in general. Now, for somebody who's running a business and they're maybe making like specific content, you need to compress your niche. So for example, I had a video where it was, I was talking about mindset, how to make your first 40 grand or something like that. But then I had a video that was 10 minutes long talking about personal brand. Okay. This one over here has about like 400,000 views. This one over here has like 200,000 views. These over here are 50 times more valuable than this. And I'm going to explain it why, because